Students. I'm David Smith, your instructor for Digital Design 220 and here's a quick video for how to use Zoom for my class. Now you're probably thinking Zoom is a piece of cake and I can use it. You probably can. But the tricky part is when you're trying to use Zoom and Photoshop at the same time on your very tiny laptop and you can't see anything and it's frustrating. So let me show you about that stuff. You probably didn't think about that. Well, I did. So let's look at it. So here we can see, I forget what this is called. This is a speaker view. So this is I'm a student in this mode. This is the instructor. This would be me. And I can see this, right? Now there's other modes to use. You may already know about this. So this is speaker view up in the upper right here. I can switch this to galley view. Here's a bigger view of the instructor and or shared computer. When I'm lecturing, I'm going to share my screen so you can see Photoshop and all the wonder of Photoshop that you're going to see. I'll probably be small like this, right? And I'll be showing you stuff. Now, the first part of class, I'm going to simply lecture and show you all the stuff. I'm going to show you on this big screen. It's going to be complicated. And here's what you want to remember. You can't, I'm going to go back. You can't use a little phone. You cannot see all the stuff I'm doing in Photoshop on your phone. Your phone is way too small. You're probably thinking, but my phone is huge. It's like this big. It's still too small. Photoshop there's going to be all kinds of tiny little buttons and you're not going to see it on a phone. So don't use your phone. I mean, unless you have to, but that would be a mistake, right? So don't do that. You could use a laptop, so you have a bigger screen so you can see all my Photoshop. You could use, I recommend if you have a, like an iPad. Here's what I really recommend, that if you have a laptop and an iPad, you stream the Zoom conference on the iPad, and then you can work on your laptop. But you're thinking, Dave, I got a big laptop. It's like 13 inches. It can fit it. Not really. It's going to be tiny. You'll find out. It's going to be tiny. So if you have a iPad and a laptop, that's awesome. Do that. You're like, oh, Dave, I can use my phone for your video and then I can use my laptop. No, you cannot do that. Your phone is like this big and you're not going to be able to see nothing. You'll see a blur. Anyways, I can't stress that enough. One more thing, get a mouse. Get a mouse for your laptop. You go, oh, but I got that little touch screen thing. No, that thing does not work very well. So just get a cheap mouse and borrow one, get one, I don't care. But that little touchscreen you can't move fast enough. You're like, I'm fast, Dave. No, you're not. Just trust me. Professionals do not use the touchscreen. If they do, they have other people actually doing the work for them and they just tell them what to do. That's the truth. Okay, so anyways, here you can see speaker view, galley view. This is going to be where you're normally going to be watching. And you have options down here. Participants, you can see the participants. You can click right down here, participants. You can see there'll be a big long list of our awesome class. You will probably be muted. You'll be videos, so you can probably see each other, and that'll be cool. You'll see me, I'm on the top. And then way down here, this is at the lower left, there's a mute option. You'll probably be muted. It's not because I want to be mean, it can be distracting. So normally I'm going to mute you if you have a question. And the second half of class, I will enable it where you can ask me questions, and you'll probably raise your hand, and then I will unmute you. You will talk, and then I'll mute you again. We'll see how that works. If that works, we'll do it. If not, maybe I'll try something else. But more than likely, you're going to be muted most of the time, just because there's so many of you, and it can be distracting. Now, let's say Jodine Smith is the host. And so she's the teacher for now. I'm a student. So I'm a student, and let's say I want to raise my hand. So I'm going to go raise hand. Way on the bottom down here, There's raise hand. I can raise my hand. And there's this little hand here, right? There's a little blue hand. Now, I may or may not see that while I'm lecturing. I may not want to answer your question right away. I might just be talking, and if I ignore you, it's not I'm not doing it because I don't like you. I'm just doing it because I'm too busy talking, and I'll get to you as soon as possible. So just keep that in mind. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just instructing, right? Anyways, if your hand is up and you get tired of waiting, you can lower your hand, a little lower hand, right? So you can do that. Another thing you can do is I'm going to try that we use chat. Now, it's recommended that we don't use chat, and that can be abused. And so if it is, I'll just take it out. But what you can do is during class, you can use the chat. I'm switching back. I'm so tiny. There. We can use chat. So where's chat? Down here on the bottom, there's a chat option. So chat. And there's a chat. And way at the bottom here, you can type something. So while I'm lecturing, you can type a question. And I'm going to have the chat open, but I'm not necessarily going to answer you. I'll look periodically. And if I see a good question, like maybe I missed something, and you're like, you want to ask a question like, what is the pen tool? You know, can you show me again? Right? And then you press enter, right? And so here it is. Here's the message. And while I'm lecturing, I'll kind of be peeking over there. If I see something that's really significant, I'll probably answer it. I'm not going to have you I'm not going to unmute you and stuff like that. I'm just going to see, oh, I'm going to be like mentally, I'm going to be like, oh, they need more information about the pen tool. So I'll say, okay, here's a little bit more information about the pen tool. And then later we'll have time where you can ask me questions. I'll unmute you and stuff like that. So for now, but you can do that. But don't use the group chat for like, you know, hey, Susie, how you doing? And Mr. Smith is so boring. No, don't do that. Just questions, right? Questions. Because if it's filled up with a bunch of stuff, I won't be able to use it very well. I'm mainly for questions that are important, right? And if they are, I'll get to them. If not, then I'll cut it out. I just want to be able to have some feedback if there's an issue. Okay. Now, what happens, so I'm going to lecture, and I'm going to record it too. So I'm going to record it, and it'll be full screen, and I'll be screen sharing. I'm going to show you my computer screen. I'll be demonstrating in Photoshop, and it'll be great. And I'm going to record that portion. That's going to be like the first, 40 minutes of class. And I'll record that for later. So if you miss it, you can watch it again. Isn't that great? So that'll be the first part. The second part of class is where we're going to be working together. Now, I'm still going to show you, but this is the part where you want to try to do something. And so you can't, if you're using your laptop for the Zoom conference like this, you cannot work in Photoshop like this. It's all right. Like, I don't see no Photoshop. It ain't there. So what you need to do is you need to minimize Zoom and fit it with Photoshop. It's a bear. It's not going to work very well. Before I do that, though, let's see if there's anything else I need to show you. Share screen. I'm not going to enable you to share your screen. Maybe at the end of class, but probably not. So don't count on that. Chat is here. If you want to get rid of chat, I think you can click on chat again down here. It goes away. If you don't want to see these participants here, I think you can click on participants here. That goes away. It might save up some space. But if you want to see participants, you click on it. You can see it. You want to see chat, you can click on it. It's there. Record, you can't record. I'm going to record, and you don't have my permission to record the rest of my class, so sorry. Oh, these are great reactions. These are just positive. You can give me a thumbs up. It's like, yeah. Or you can give me an applause. Positive. So they're kind of useless unless you want to make me feel good, and hey, that's great. There's other reactions, and they're usually like right here in the latest version. So there's like a coffee cup. That's for like, hey, I need a break. And there's another one like, hey, slow down, Mr. Smith, slow down. So like if you click on the slow down button, next to your name, it'll be a little slow down button. I may or may not see that. If I see a lot of slow downs, then I'll try to slow down or speed up. I probably won't speed up that much because some people may need me to go slower, but whatever. I mean, if everyone's telling me to slow up or speed up, okay. Anyways, but there'll be options here. Coffee cup is like, hey, when do we get a break? We'll get a break, don't worry about it. Okay, so now it's time for, it's part of the class where we need to work in Photoshop and look at Zoom. So how are you gonna do this? Well, first thing you wanna do is you wanna minimize this. You want this to be a window. So up here, you don't want to hit the X, that'll close out of Zoom. There's like a window version, so you can click here or whatever. Mine says restore down. So window or restore down, right? And now it's a separate window. Now imagine this is your laptop. Imagine this whole thing is your laptop. This takes up like all your screen. You can't really work in Photoshop. Look at how complicated Photoshop is over here. That's complicated. And you have all these buttons, which is cool, it's good. But with Zoom, it takes up a lot of space. So what are you gonna do? You can change this window around with your mouse, because it's hard to use that dumb little touchpad. You can kind of make it bigger like this. You probably wanna go into galley view so that this is bigger, and you want that to be as big as, you don't want your window to be so big. You wanna maximize your space for that window, but it probably needs to be bigger than this. So I would do something like this. I would go bigger, something like that. And then maybe you can move off that, maybe you can move part of this off. So it's there. And now I have some room for Photoshop over here. And so I'll be demonstrating over here, which this is small. This is very small. You'll barely be able to see what I'm doing. And I'll try to go slow, but your Zoom shared Photoshop view of my class, of me, needs to be about this big. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. Like if it's smaller than that, you're not going to see it. But you still need space for Photoshop over here, right? So I'll say like, hey, you're going to get this picture, you're going to load a picture and I'll show you. And so you can do it in class. You'll be like, okay, I'm going to open this picture, I'm going to get this nail thing. And I'm going to show you down here and you're going to be doing it over here. So you're not going to have a lot of space on your screen. So just be aware of that. You can make this bigger. You can move it around. This stuff gets in the way. See how it covers up my Photoshop tools? So you're just going to constantly moving it around. It's going to be a chore. You kind of want some room to work. Remember, my screen is really big, so I kind of have a lot of space. Your screen is going to be like a 13-inch I was going to say something derogatory. It's going to be small. It's going to not be very good, right? I have a humongous screen because I play games and stuff. So, but anyways, if you have a desktop at home and you have a nice big screen, that'll work great. That's what I have. I have a desktop. I have a nice big screen. I can kind of fit this thing around. But if you just have a laptop, those things are tiny. They're not as useful as you would think they are when you run into these issues. So anyways, this needs to be big. If it needs to be bigger, make it bigger. If you accidentally make it full screen and you need to go back, you can click on the upper, right here. We got window view and we even have minimize. Let me see what happens if I minimize. If I minimize it, it's like this goofy little image here and it's like, oh no, what have I done? I can't see anything. There's a little green arrow here, exit minimized view. You can click on it, it's maximized. Go back to this, it's about that size. So anyways, that's what you can do. See how important it is to think about this before we enter class, because you're not gonna have a lot of room. So what do I recommend? I recommend if you have a desktop with a pretty big screen, like a 20-inch or like a 25-inch screen, that's pretty awesome. That's your best bet. Kick off whoever has the desktop and say, hey, I got a class, and you can take over their computer. Maybe if you have Photoshop loaded on, that'll be great. If you don't, if you're using a desktop, then I don't know. Just be aware that you're going to need to scale your image. You can scale it this way. You can scale it this way in the middle. Well, that's interesting. Okay. You can scale it that way, back and forth. Obviously, you want this to be big. Don't have this empty black area like this. Like, don't do this stuff. Oh gosh, yeah, see? So this is the only size of the screen that you can see anyways, so you might as well not do that. Oh man, please don't. There we go. You're gonna do this. So so less black, you can see more. You can move this thing around, but you can see what a chore that can be. So be aware of that, and good luck in my class.